All week you've been hearing about Davos and the World Economic Forum. Where's Davos? That's the first thing you probably wonder. Well, Davos is in Switzerland. And what the heck is the World Economic Forum? The World Economic Forum is just a meeting that's been held, or conference that's been held since 1971, where the world leaders in business, economists, and politicians come together to identify problems around the world and see if they could solve those problems by throwing money at them. But what made Davos a particular point of attention this year is the fact that Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom were both in attendance at the World Economic Forum. And as one could be expected, Donald Trump had a lot to say to the world leaders, the ones who everyone tells you that you need to hate Donald Trump so that they can love you or respect you or think you're smart or whatever. I don't know why people think we should care about what the world leaders think, but this is what Donald Trump had to say.
I realized in that conversation that the United States is keeping the whole world afloat. Many places, I could give you 6, 7 places just in the people in this little area. I know every one of them. They're looking down. They don't want to see me and they don't want to stare me in the eyes. But they're taking advantage of, everybody took advantage of the United States. China makes almost all of the windmills. And yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them. I mean, we're taking people from Somalia, and Somalia is a failed, it's not a nation. Got no government, got no police, got no military, got no nothing. And then we have this fake congressperson who they just reported is worth $30 million. You believe this? Ilhan Omar, talking about the Constitution provides me. She comes from a country that's not a country, and she's telling us how to run America. Not going to get away with it much longer, let me tell you. Certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. They're not recognizable. And we can argue about it, but there's no argument. Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And that's not in a positive way. That's in a very negative way. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good, but it's not heading in the right direction. In recent...
Now that you've watched that, Trump is the only person who really is in a position to come out at those world leaders that way. Trump was dealing with a huge economic crisis when he became president. Joe Biden destroyed the American economy. We saw inflation rise as high as 9%. Some economists said or estimated that it was as high as 14%. And Donald Trump made a lot of promises during his campaign about fixing that situation. And here we are, only a year into his presidency. We see lower grocery prices, lower energy prices. Basically, Trump in a year has damn near made good on almost everything he promised during his campaign for president. Many of these countries around the world are still struggling to climb out of the hole that they dug for themselves with draconian COVID lockdowns. That is why when Trump speaks, they have no choice but to listen. And there's very little reporting from their media outlets criticizing what Donald Trump had to say in Davos. Trump is probably one of the few businessmen who is in a leadership role in any Western country, and he knew and knows exactly the way these hyper liberal political figures think. They don't think about doing real business. They don't think about bolstering their economy the right way by incentivizing the owners of the means of production to create jobs and take risk, right? Western countries believe that they're going to be able to slave their way to continue economic prosperity. Hey, we're going to grow these service economies, and we're going to bring low-wage, illegal immigrant labor into the country to work these service jobs, and the economy will be driven by high income earners purchasing services from the merchant class or the business class, and the business class being able to maximize profits by paying almost nothing to an ever increasing or growing immigrant labor force. That's what they think. Trump knows better. If you've ever even run a lemonade stand, you know better. But the biggest highlight was the fact that Gavin Newsom was also in attendance. A man who, as governor of California, has absolutely destroyed the economy of California. And many economists believe that he has done irreparable damage to the economy of California and has presided over the largest exodus in California history of California residents out of the state. How do I know? I live in California. I'm in California right now. They say it never rains in California, Southern California, but it is raining and I'm here. It's fine. I'm working. I'm doing my thing. I'm contributing to society. Productive member. Okay. So we know Gavin Newsom knows nothing about economics because every economic project every economic project he has undertaken, he has failed miserably. But he was in Davos to kind of like thumb his nose at Trump, to sit in the audience. You know how when people bring somebody they know you don't mess with to kind of throw you off of your game? Well, that's what the son of George Soros, the boogeyman, Alex Soros did when he flew the governor of California to Davos, Switzerland to attend the economic forum World Economic Forum as a way to kind of thumb his nose at Donald Trump. So while the people in the Pacific Palisades are suffering, the people in the people who lost their homes to the Pacific Palisade fires are suffering because they're homeless and can't build their homes due to regulation that Gavin Newsom refuses to undo or to suspend, right? He's over in Davos, Switzerland, having a good old time trying to be the yin or the yang to Donald Trump's yin, trying to be Donald Trump's antagonist, right? And it's really not working. And here's an example of why.
And I think we need to stand up in America and call this out with clarity. We can lose our republic as we know it. Our country can become unrecognizable.
As governor, I'll use my emergency.
In a matter of months, just not years, it is code red, blinking red in the United States of America. So forgive me, I feel this with passion, some indignancy, as someone frankly has taken it for granted all of these years. And it's why I came here to Davos to call it out.
So Gavin Newsom did this interview, and this interview was an absolute disaster because prior to the interview, Gavin Newsom was asked to give a speech at the World Economic Forum, but could not do the speech because now Gavin Newsom is blaming it on Trump. Oh, Trump didn't want them to let me speak. Bullcrap, okay? Gavin Newsom, reports are saying that he didn't give the speech because he was ill-equipped to give a speech because he had zero economic policies, zero successful economic policies to brag about on stage at the World Economic Forum. If you've been an economic disaster as leader of California, no one at the World Economic Forum wants to listen to you because you're just failing economically. And the World Economic Forum is for people who know how to succeed economically, right? So instead, Gavin Newsom does this interview where, to sum it all up, he basically says, none of what happened in California is my fault. Let's not talk about the job I'm doing as a leader. Let's talk about how terrible Trump is, and let me campaign for my future presidential run that's coming up in 2028, even though I have zero success with which to use as a springboard into a presidential campaign. So I must continue to deflect attention off of me and deflect attention onto Donald Trump, someone who will not be running for president in 2028, someone who has basically driven a large amount of economic prosperity and economic boom in the American economy within the 1 year that he has been back in the Oval Office. How does someone who has zero success economically think that they're going to level criticism at someone who is like the economic golden boy, who is bringing America back, who is creating a environment of increasing prosperity in America? How is Gavin, who is also, I remind you, not going to be running for president in 2028? I don't know the logic behind what Gavin Newsom is doing. I don't know what he expects to happen, but I want to just tell you real quick, as a Californian, I'm in California, right? Here's some of the issues Gavin Newsom is dealing with in his own state that he's governor over. While he's criticizing Trump, he's telling you to pick him. He's not telling you yet, but that's where this is going. He's going to tell you to pick him, make him president. He knows how to do whatever is going to need to be done once he's running for president. Here's some of the things he's dealing with that he's going to leave office pretty soon and leave on his successor. 1, homelessness. Gavin Newsom spent $24 billion in taxpayer and government federal money on homelessness in California, and the crisis has gotten worse. He is termed out as governor of California. That means he has been governor for 8 years, and in 8 years, he has spent $24 billion to fight homelessness, and the problem only is getting worse. In Gavin Newsom's 2018 campaign for governor, he said that he would build 3.5 million new housing units. Gavin failed to do that. In 8 years, Gavin failed miserably at building these new housing units, despite spending record levels of money or tax revenue on this situation. A lot of people think he stole the money, or him and his buddies. Next, the cost of living. Gavin Newsom has ushered in the largest cost of living jump in California history. People are burdened by the hike in the cost of living. People are working jobs. Many Californians are forced to work 2, sometimes 3 jobs just to get by in California. And all of this happened under Gavin Newsom. The cost of living was not as high under Jerry Brown or Arnold Schwarzenegger, not even Gray Davis, and he was terrible. Yeah, so that's that. And then a lot of people criticized him for his conduct during COVID-19, saying that he was opening his business, the French Laundry, hosting events at the French Laundry, while he had Californians under draconian lockdowns, and was actively preventing California business owners from opening up their businesses. His business, the French Laundry, a restaurant, was doing business for the entirety of COVID-19 pandemic. And then another criticism is the rising crime rates. Gavin Newsom was a person who championed the soft on crime policies, 2 of which were Proposition 47 and Proposition 57. These propositions basically made a point to increase the monetary limit of theft before one could be charged. I think it was like $500 before, and Gavin Newsom increased it to like $1,200, meaning unless someone stole about $1,200 worth of stuff, you couldn't charge them criminally for theft. Then many people criticized him over his political ambitions, saying that he was just using the California governorship as a stepping stone, never really cared about California at all, just wanted to use it as a stepping stone to the presidency, which he is attempting to do right now. Also, budget management. When Gavin Newsom came into office, he had a budget surplus. As a matter of fact, in 2022, Gavin Newsom had a $97.5 million surplus. And then the state dwindled that, killed that, destroyed that, blew that money to the point where now they have a huge, I think it's like $24 billion deficit. How do you go from a $97.5 billion surplus in 2022 to a damn near $30 billion deficit only 4 years later? Yeah. Waste, fraud, and abuse. That's how. Education performance test scores in California have dropped. They've declined. Reading, our children being able to read is at an all-time low. Our literacy rate is at an all-time low. Gavin Newsom's responsible for that. He's the governor. On top of that, our energy and utility costs here in California have increased exponentially. Gavin Newsom continues to wage a war on fossil fuels. He continues to lean into the policies of the Green New Deal, even though they have proven to be a failure in a state that consumes energy, more energy than all other states in the union. Well, guess what? Gavin Newsom, he's shutting down power plants, shutting down refineries, and basically telling Californians, hey, screw you. If you don't like the cost of gas, because it's going up as he cuts supply, go get an EV, go get an electric car. But the problem is we don't have the electric grid to support everyone in California driving EVs. And even if we did, people should be able to drive what they want to drive, and they should be able to afford to drive what they want to drive. And Gavin Newsom has signed draconian executive orders that no one's voting on, getting rid of combustion engine vehicles by 2030, the import of those. Just all types of nonsense Gavin Newsom always does. And then his last criticism is transparency and pay to play. Allegations of pay to play politics have surfaced against Gavin Newsom. Most notably, something called Panera Gate. I don't know if you guys know this, where Panera Bread, the restaurant, they were given special privileges. They were exempted from certain laws and regulations that Gavin Newsom and the California state legislature passed into law. And people are saying that Panera Bread paid Gavin to be exempted from those regulations. So there was a thing about the minimum wage that would have to be paid. There was a minimum wage that would have to be paid by all businesses in certain municipalities throughout the state. Well, they exempted Panera Bread from this, and no one knows why. And come to find out, Panera Bread was a donor to Gavin Newsom's campaigns in the past. So they're thinking there's a little quid pro quo, a little pay to play going on. I say all that to say this. Gavin Newsom, if he's going to run for president, the economy is not going to be a strong point. Creating an America where Americans can thrive and take care of their families and live a little easier and work a little less so they have a little more time to spend at home with their family. Gavin Newsom is incapable. Incapable. If he's not incapable, he's damn sure unwilling to create a situation like that in America, because he was either incapable or unwilling to create a situation like that in California. And there are allegations of massive waste, fraud, and abuse. Many people are saying that the fraud in California eclipses what we've learned about, the fraud we've learned about or discovered in Minneapolis. And the federal government is on its way to California, where they're going to do audits. I mean, living here, you can just see that there's waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, we live in one of the richest, this is the 5th largest economy on earth, and we're riding around on cracked roads, crumbling infrastructure. Our riverbeds need repair. Our bridges need repair. Just everything. Our freeways need repair. How are you the 5th largest economy in the world, and basic infrastructure is just crumbling all over the place? That has to be fraud. How do you have a $97.5 billion $5 billion surplus? Not a single penny of that money went to build anything as far as infrastructure. Not a single penny of that money went to resources for the for the California taxpayer, the people working hard to keep this junk heap afloat. None. All to homelessness, all to all these charitable efforts. None of it went to the California taxpayer. But Gavin Newsom's friends got richer. He got richer. He bought a $6 million home or something crazy like that. These guys keep getting money. They keep getting money, but from the taxpayer, and their whole plan is to just keep taxing. Well, we're going to spend all this money, waste it, steal it, whatever they're doing with it, and then we're going to just keep on taxing the California taxpayer until, I guess, somebody stops them. And hopefully the next governor of California will do that. But my message is, don't make this guy president, because he is one of them. He's part of the shadowy figures within the world government who basically think that we are nothing but a bunch of little ATMs to keep lining the pockets of him and his rich friends. And he's shameless about it. He doesn't care. He tells you straight to your face what he thinks of you, how he feels about you, and expects you to just swallow it and keep voting for him. And unfortunately, there are many people who will.